Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. It's a raw, sometimes raw, I guess, an honest look at addiction and recovery. And we thank everybody around the world in the United States for listening or watching. I'm your host, Randall Carlisle. My co-host is Nicole Slack. And our guest today is Kevin. And welcome, Kevin. You told me, and it's really funny, sometimes I get emails from people, and Kevin sent me an email saying, I have a good story to tell. So you're here to tell your story. And one of the reasons we do this and we get somewhat honest about what you went through and then your recovery is to give other people watching or listening hope, because there's always hope until you die. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So when did your addiction start?
After high school, after football, my senior year, I started smoking marijuana, and then it got to the cocaine, methamphetamine. I got hooked on methamphetamine until 2000. I was getting a divorce, and my daughters needed I had 4 daughters, and they needed parent, and so I got clean and got custody of my daughters, and with the help of my mom and an ex-wife, raised my daughters. And
so you were hooked on meth, and then you got clean and raised your 4 daughters.
Yes.
Did you get clean by yourself? Like, did you?
No, I did a clinical consultants.
Okay.
I actually got in some trouble, and it kind of put me on the right path.
It's great.
Yeah.
And so how long were you clean then?
Until I believe it was 2018.
Wow. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
So your daughters were what age?
My oldest was, I believe, in junior high, 8th grade maybe, and my youngest was going into kindergarten.
Okay. When you got clean, or when
When I got custody of them.
Okay.
You know, I went through the courts and battled to get them, and their mother would get in trouble, and I would take them for a while, and then she would get out, and the courts hadn't given the custody to me yet, so it was kind of an ongoing battle. I got in trouble, got clean, and I don't even think I was out 2 weeks, and the opportunity came where I was able to get him again, and got through the courts and got custody of him, and raised him in South Ogden.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story. So you were a good dad for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, I got divorced, and then I had 2 bad hips, and so I had 5 hip surgeries. I had 4 of them on my left side and 1 on my right side. I had them replaced, and every 6 months having a surgery, the opioids got me. I'd taken opioids, and then I got involved in the pain clinics, and after a while, it weren't helping, and so I was introduced to fentanyl, and that's where things went really bad.
Wow. And describe for people, fentanyl is, I suppose, the most talked about drug right now in the news and everything else. But was it a feeling of being high or just numbing your pain?
I think a little bit of both. I think a lot of it, I was addicted to the motions of watching a pill slide down tinfoil and, going through the process of smoking the pill. And I think I was addicted to a lot of that. I think same way with meth, people have a pipe in their hand, and just the motions that they do with the pipe. I think that has a lot of addiction to that also. But yeah, I wasn't really getting high much anymore because I couldn't get much higher because of how many pills I was doing. So,
I guess I'd compare what you just said to Nicole and I are alcoholics. Was it the act of drinking, or was it the effect of the drinking? For me, it was the effect. It wasn't sitting there putting a glass to my mouth or.
Yeah, I think mine was the actual effects of the alcohol. But I can understand what you're saying, because watching my friends quit vaping and all that, they just have to have something to fidget with. It, they chew on something, they have just to quit vaping, because I don't think it's the act of vaping that they miss anymore. It's the motions, the having the thing in their mouth. So they have all bought, on TikTok, there's a lot of things you can buy that you can just suck on. Yeah, to quit vaping. So I understand what you're saying.
yes, I've been told by somebody that they can't have shot glasses because the shot glass triggers them.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
So,
Yeah. But explain to people, but we throw that word around a lot, triggers. What does that mean to you?
just things that I see and experience that would make me think of past use, whether it be a place that I go to or somebody that I see, a store. I see people on the trains, that are probably high, that
Right.
you see their actions, and that kind of the trigger.
Yeah.
Also, to see their actions kind of.
I think as human beings, we, at least my brain does this, is when I see, because like I said, I'm a recovering alcoholic, when I see somebody drinking or I see people partying, like at a bar or something, my mind doesn't go back to the bad stuff that was happening to me when I was drinking. It goes back to the good stuff. It's like, God, I used to have fun. That's the way things used to be for me. And I think the addictive brain just tends to do that. I mean, I have to force myself, if I see something, and I guess I would call that a trigger, and if I see something like that, I have to force myself. We all talk about playing the tape, and I have to say, no, wait a minute. There were times when you went home stumbling down, falling down on the street. You've gone through 4 wives. Life was not a bowl of cherries when you were drinking.
Yeah.
Do you do that? I mean,
Yeah, my triggers are different than yours and yours. Mine are emotional. I'll be driving, and I drove in my old neighborhood the other day because I was taking my son to a museum. And that was my old neighborhood when my life was good before I destroyed it. And that was instant tears in my eyes. And that's when I would drink before, when I was that sad. But yeah, then you play your tape of I always tell clients 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks. Where are you in 2 hours? Because in 2 minutes, you're going to be still happy. But where are you in 2 hours? Where are you in 2 days? Where have you been sleeping? What have you been doing? Yeah. And where are you in 2 weeks? All those bridges that you've mended and everything, what does that look like? Yeah. Instead of that instant gratification of what'll happen when you get that drink. Yeah, it might be good for a minute, but what happens? It's playing the tape.
And I have to look at where my life is now, and I have to say, wait, am I happier than I was when I was back at the bar drunk with a bunch of buddies? And how's my life going? And where would my life go if I decided to drink again? Did you go through those things?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, my daughters were pretty brutal with me when I was addicted, and I don't ever want to put them through that again.
How are they brutal with you? I'm curious about that.
Well, for one thing, I was not able to see my grandkids. I had 2 daughters that were living with me that just made life miserable. If I come home high or anything, they'd be right on me, yelling at me, let me know that it wasn't cool to be like that around them. I pretty much lost everything that I had before I really realized that, hey, this is crazy. I took myself to, I woke up one morning and said, I need to fix this. So I spent the morning calling to find out a place that I could go to get clean. And they sent me to Davis Behavioral. That's where I did my detox. And then they sent me to Meadowbrook, Odyssey House in Meadowbrook. And that's where I did my, but yeah, I think that just things that I went through and put my kids through is one of the reasons that keeps me going.
Let me stop you for a sec. When you just said, and I facilitate a family support group, and it's people who have loved ones who are still addicted, still out on the street or in jail or in a program or whatever. And everybody wants, and I ask this every podcast, is you woke up one morning and decided that you needed to do something. What was the motive? Is there something magical about what happened to you that day? Or I want to find the reason why people find a cure for addiction. So,
well, my thing, I was at the bottom. I had nowhere else to go. I know my girls wanted me to get help. I was tired of, I think I spent more time looking to get high, finding a way to get high than I did at my job. You know, every single day you get up and look for a way to be able to get high.
So you don't get sick.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct. And I didn't have anything else to use to get high. And I said, this is my opportunity. I'm at the very bottom. This is my opportunity. I need to seek help now. So I called my daughter, and she came over and got me and took me to the detox by the hospital there in Davis County.
Wow. So I'm trying to glean what you said. Was it that you were sick and tired of being sick and tired, or it was your rock bottom? I'm looking.
I was sick and tired of, not going to family parties, being told I didn't get to see my grandkids, just hibernating in my room all the time, not going out, losing everything. It just, I had enough. I didn't know I didn't know what else I could lose. I lost everything. It was either going to be me or maybe somebody else, happened to somebody else because of me or whatever.
Well, your next step would have been losing your life, right?
Yeah, right.
So you went through the Odyssey program, and you've been clean ever since. Some people hate when I use the word clean. Some of the harm reduction people get really angry over that because it's a judgmental term, clean.
Okay.
So, but I'll use it anyway because I believe in it. So I don't care.
Sober?
Yeah, but I think clean also refers to your mental state.
Yeah.
Not just the fact that you're not, and that's really what we call ourselves, a behavioral health program, right?
Correct.
And so it's not just not doing something, it's also taking stock of what's going on in your brain, what went on with your past, and how you can deal with those things.
We had a client that was telling us one day that he hadn't used in 8 years, but at no point did he feel sober. He was like, I didn't use, but I was white knuckling it that whole time because I didn't deal with anything. I didn't work on anything. All I was working on was not using that day. And now he's clean. I want to say like a year, and he's just happy. And so, yeah, they are two different things.
It really is. And even back in the back in the big book of AA, back in the 30s, they referred to people who white knuckle it, and they were cognizant of the fact that you do have to dig a little deeper than just not. Back then, they were just talking about alcohol, but it's a lot more. It's how you live your life. It's how you look at things. Those kinds of things. So you got out of the program. You've been sober, clean, whatever you want to say, ever since. And compare how you are in terms of happiness and how you feel now and everything compared to when you were looking for fentanyl every day.
I feel like I have a purpose now. I get up, I ride the transit, and when I go to catch the bus, when I walk by, there's roses along the sidewalks. I could smell the roses. I could hear the birds chirp as I walk. I get up and sit in the recliner. I could hear the birds chirp outside. I see the blossoms on the trees, the different colored blossoms, stuff you take advantage of. You don't recognize that stuff when you're getting high.
You don't, do you? I mean, that was with my therapist, my breakthrough was me looking out the window of her office, and she said, "What do you see?" And I said something about it was in the fall, and I said something about the beautiful leaves changing color, and she goes, "Wow, and I thought, what's the big deal? I noticed leaves changing color, and you're right. You don't notice those things."
No.
I hermit. Like when I was in active alcoholism, I just hermit. I missed so many things I love.
Yes, for sure.
And yeah, just to drink.
Well, and you're numb, and so you're missing out on a lot of the beautiful things of life.
Right.
So,
my kids, I'm from Ogden area. I grew up in Clearfield, and all my kids are pretty much from still the Ogden area. And so being here, I don't see them still as much as I'd like to. But at least they know that I'm doing good, and I know I'm doing good, and that's what matters.
And the grandchildren, you get along with them? They love Grandpa?
Yeah, they do. They call me Pa.
Okay.
So yeah,
And
they do.
And how do you feel interacting with them? I mean, because your daughters wouldn't let you.
Nope.
Right?
No, like I say, I don't see him as much as I'd like to, but when I see him, they come up and say, "Pa, Pa," and give me a hug. So yeah, they're definitely worth where I'm at now.
And you reached out because you now work at the men's mental health unit of Odyssey House.
Correct.
What's that like?
It's a blessing, definitely a blessing. I look forward to going to work. I work the weekends, and I look forward to going. I was telling you, I feel a little bit selfish because I think I get more out of the guys than they really get out of me. But I do my best. I try and share my story and share my experiences that I had when I was in Odyssey and through my recovery, so that when they get out, they can kind of have a step up on things.
That is a very cool facility that you work at. I really like that facility.
Great staff. And,
Yeah, good vibe.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those clients are lucky. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Can you generalize at all about the issues that most of the clients there are suffering from? Is there any one thing or?
Probably a lot of internal stimuli. And most of them are in there for probably meth, but yeah, a lot of them have been on the streets or in jail. So it's kind of different for them to come into a facility like that. And I really think that, well, when I went into treatment, one thing I realized is, well, growing up, I was I was told that homeless people are not good. Basically, like Emmanuel that kidnapped Elizabeth Smart. That's what I was basically told. But being in Odyssey House, having homeless people come into the facility and go through the program, they're the nicest people in the whole world. They have their own story, but I've met some of the greatest people that were homeless and are doing good now. So, and another thing that I enjoy from the Odyssey was that the donation. They come into the facility, don't have a lot of clothes or anything, and they get to go in the donation and get clothes. And to see them come out the first time in front of everybody with a big smile, that's worth it to me to see that.
I think we all have a misconception about, I think the general public does, about the people we see out on the street. And I'd say, 99% of them, if they had a choice, they would prefer having a home and having a quote, normal life. And they didn't choose to be there, right?
Exactly.
Well, and also at the mental health house, they have a diagnosis typically that includes psychosis or paranoia, and they're self-medicating with meth is typically the one they use because it calms the voices and it calms the paranoia and calms all those feelings. And that lifestyle of medicating with that is not conducive to living with a family and doing all those things. So they're homeless, battling so many more things than just addiction. Addiction's their treatment.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's totally true.
And it doesn't do anything for your self-esteem to be homeless and have people look at you like you're trash out on the street, right? You know, so you've got a lot of rebuilding to do at your facility, and you see success stories, don't you?
For sure, yeah, definitely.
Without naming names or anything, people who get out of the program and go on to do what? And I'm not talking about a profession like making a six-figure salary, but living some kind of good life.
Well, one of the big things is IOP, outpatient. That's a big thing. If you can get through that, stay connected with your IOP, I think that's a big thing. I went to clinical consultants and they were awesome. They were great. But at the mental health, you're able to get a job after so long of being there. You're able to go out and find a job. So yeah, there's a lot of things to help them get back to being productive.
The flip side of that, and Nicole and I have talked about this before, is you do be working there like you do. You become attached to many of the people because you're talking about a lot of personal stuff and everything. Okay. And some people do relapse and some people do die. And I find that very hard to deal with. Do you? We've talked about some people that we've known that it's happened to them. You know?
It's tough to get to know them and enjoy them and see them doing so well, and then they're gone.
Yeah, I think there's been 4 that I was in Meadowbrook with that have passed on. A couple of them relapsed. I know one of them was not a relapse, but it's terrible. It's terrible. We just got a whole new house, pretty much a whole new house last week or the week before. It's tough to see the ones that you've been working with and getting to know, seeing them move on, but it's a blessing to see them move on and to see new people come in and hear their story.
In the mental health houses, clients typically stay there a lot longer than the other houses. So that just for adult houses, the average stay is 3 to 6 months. In the mental health house, it's like a year to 18 months. But it's really cool because Utah has been opening up boarding homes. And so they're actually finding places for these people who need the extra support to go to and have that extra support at a boarding home and still do IOP. And so I think you guys are seeing a lot more success than we used to.
Oh yeah, for sure. I as of right now, I haven't really heard of anybody that since I've been at men's mental health that has relapsed.
Good.
Hopefully that's a true statement.
Sure. We were talking earlier before the podcast started about finally finding recovery at an older age, and you said it. You said something like it's more difficult. Do you think it is?
I do. That's one thing I tell the guys at the house. Get better, get clean now. It's tough when you're my age to lose everything. It's harder to get the desire to rebuild. It'd be easy just to say, "Heck, I'm too old. I'm not gonna try and make an effort." But yeah, don't be my age and be where I'm at. Starting over.
Those are your words of advice.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I wish I had done mine a lot earlier. Nicole, you youngster, you.
But I still started late.
Define that.
Well, I think I didn't really jump in with both feet till like 34, 35.
Yeah,
And then I ruined my life by like 38. So
yeah, but he and I are talking about 50s, 60s. You know, that's
well, then
that's
for my
twice your
perspective,
age.
I was doing a candidate out for a youth who was 16, and she was saying, "I can't believe the years I've wasted." And I'm just like,
At 16?
Oh, yeah. I was like, "Oh my heavens! I wish I could say that at that age." Like, girl, you've got this. You have so much life ahead of you. Like, good for you.
Yeah, that you do have life ahead of you. And she was 16.
16. I can't believe the years I've wasted. I was like, oh.
I was really shocked early on when I was going to 90 meetings in 90 days when I got out of my IOP program. And I'm talking about AA meetings. I can say that, I guess. And there's a lot of old timers at AA meetings telling stories and stuff. And this young woman in her early 20s stood up and said, I hate all of you. I'm so angry that you're in your 60s and 50s and you're talking about recovery. I'm in my 20s, my early 20s, and I was just diagnosed with fatal cirrhosis of the liver because I drank so much. Wow. Think about that. You know, it's all perspective.
Yeah.
And it obviously the drinking effect, because I drank a hell of a lot too, but it didn't get my liver, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You know, but and yours could have too.
Yeah.
You know,
Just case by case. Some people smoke for a year and get lung cancer. So
Yeah.
and some people don't smoke and get lung cancer. So
yeah, and some chain smoke and are fine. So it's a gamble, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I should be retiring instead of, trying to survive, day to day, going to work and getting a check. I should be sitting home looking to go on a vacation or something like that. But
Well, I say the same thing, but I also say, okay, if I did that, would my alcoholic brain say, you don't have anything to do today, so what about drinking?
yeah, for sure.
And I don't want that to happen.
Well, I've never not had a car or a place of my own, so this has definitely been a eye opener and a struggle that I don't want anybody else to have to go through.
Well, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for all that you're doing now to help others with the same thing. See, I told you the 30 minutes would go by very quickly. So thanks, Kevin.
You betcha.
Good to see you again, Nicole.
You too.
You're still sober.
Yeah.
I'm still sober. You're still sober. Hey.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed listening or watching to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.